Hello everyone! Today we're going to discuss what happens when your client doesn't get paid for the load you have booked. So, in our previous video we have discussed what happens when you do not receive a payment from your client. However, today we're going to talk what happens when your client does not receive a payment for the load you have booked for them. The reason this is important is because you will be the first person your client goes to when this situation happens, and you should be prepared as to how you can respond to this situation. First of all, you will need to determine what happened and who potentially might be at fault in this particular situation. In most cases, it's either going to be your client who is at fault or it's going to be a freight broker who is at fault. So how can this be your client's fault? Well, one of the very common problems is that billing hasn't been submitted or has been submitted but hasn't been received by a freight broker. Alternatively, billing has been submitted and received, but it was incomplete. Maybe some pages from the bill of lading were missing or something else. And for that reason, broker is not willing to issue payment to your client. You obviously need to contact broker and to find out what the case might be and address it. If, let's say, paperwork was incomplete, you may have to find the missing paperwork and send it to this particular broker. Other than paperwork, another situation of non-payment may happen when cargo was damaged or there were some sort of shortages, and now broker is refusing to pay for the transportation of this particular load. Now, this situation is a little bit more complex. For example, if your client picked up a load in point A and it never arrived to point B because truck ended up in a ditch and entire cargo was basically damaged, well, then there is a reasonable chance freight broker will not be willing to pay for transportation of this load. However, if just a few boxes got damaged and the rest of the cargo was delivered to the receiver, then it's not really a reason for a freight broker not to pay your client. I personally was involved in a situation when my truck made a delivery and there were a few crushed boxes. They got crushed by the boxes that were loaded on the top of them. So again, in my opinion, it was improper loading, but besides the point, broker told my factoring company that they will not pay for this load because something was damaged. And when I reached out to this broker, I have pointed out that, hey, we have transported your cargo from point A to point B. A couple of boxes got crashed, I understand, and that is why I have a cargo insurance. And if he would like, he can file a claim, provide the evidence to my insurance company showing that this was our fault, and they will get compensated for damaged product. As a matter of fact, I probably would like to pick it up, or the insurance company may want to pick it up. So, but that doesn't mean that they can not pay us for the transportation of the rest of the freight. And when I pointed this out to the broker, he kind of just made a payment and never filed any claims, which tells me he was just trying to see if he can save a couple of $1,000s by not issuing a payment. Now, regardless of what caused this situation initially, let's look at some steps you can take in order to help your client recover money that your client is being owed. Now, step number one is filing a claim on a surety bond. All brokers are required to keep a $75,000 surety bond. This bond is in place specifically for this particular situation. When motor carrier does transportation work and then doesn't get paid. So motor carrier can go and file a claim and get paid from this surety bond. Where do you get this information, or how do you know which surety bond they have? two options. One, if you look at the broker carrier packet, usually it is part of it. You know, broker sends you their freight broker certificate, authority certificate, and copy of their surety bond. Second option, you can go on the load board, let's say like DAT. Assuming they are also a member of DAT, you should be able to find this broker in the database and see who is listed as a surety bond holder. You get the contact number, call bond company, and ask them what is the process of filing a claim. In some situations, this method may also fail for two reasons. One of them, let's imagine that this broker was running some sort of fraudulent activities, and there are a lot of unpaid motor carriers, and all of them filed claims prior to you filing a claim, and this bond is just simply ran out. There's no more money left, so you are out of luck. Another scenario is that surety bond company just doesn't want to pay you. They're coming up with some sort of excuses and just refusing your claim. So if filing a claim on a surety bond fails, you may want to go to the next step, which would be filing a complaint with FMCSA. As a matter of fact, there is a page on their website specifically dedicated to filing complaints when freight broker either acts unethically or doesn't make a payment or something like that. All those these types of the situation when you want FMCSA to pay attention to this particular freight broker. Now, it is always a good idea to reach out to this freight broker and tell them that you are about to file a complaint with FMCSA and see if that would help with resolving this issue. But if it doesn't, then you just go in, you fill in the form, and hopefully FMCSA will address this issue. Now, filing a complaint with FMCSA may start an investigation, but that doesn't mean it will get your client paid. So what would be the next step? In my opinion, the next step would be reaching out to a particular shipper that you have transported freight for. Okay, shipper hired a freight broker, possibly even paid this freight broker for the transportation services. But since they hired an unreliable freight broker and you have done the work, or your clients have done the work and didn't get paid for it, this shipper might be still liable for a payment. So you want to reach out to them and say, Mr. Shipper, this is what happened. You know, we've done work, we have submitted all the documents, we didn't get paid. And see if either this shipper contacts freight broker to expedite payment, or if they somehow want to settle with you and issue a payment directly to your client. And if that fails as well, then you may want to go to probably last step, and that selling this invoice to a collection agency. Again, they will probably not buy it or pay you up front, but they will be willing to take the case, because it's usually agencies which are a mix of collection agents and attorneys, and they will go through all these steps. They're going to go to the freight broker first, they're going to go to the surety bond company second, they're going to go to the shipper third, and in most cases they will get some sort of money out of them, and then they will pay out a percentage of that to your client. Again, it's not ideal. Your client will not recover full amount that was owed to them, but it's better than nothing, and this is kind of a last resort type of scenario. So to summarize, when this situation happens and your client does not get paid on a load you have booked for them, you need to determine what happened, who might be at fault, and go through certain steps helping them collect money owed to them. You might succeed, you may not, but you as a service provider should at least put maximum effort into this to help your client, because some loads pay thousands of dollars, and not receiving a payment can cause serious damage to your client's financials and their stability. And we don't want that, because if your client goes under, that's a source of revenue that you are going to lose as a dispatcher. So do your best and always try to help your client. And with all that being said, we're going to wrap up this video, and I will see you next time.